Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer.
Shalom, shalom. Double grace and peace be unto each and every one of you. And a warm welcome to Inspirational Thoughts on this beautiful Tuesday morning. If you are alive, if you are still breathing, you may not be in the best of health. You may not you may not be the best financially, but you are still here. You are still breathing. This is an indicator. This is a sign that Yahweh has been good to you, and therefore we ought to give thanks. May we give thanks to Him for affording us the opportunity to experience this week. This morning, I am indeed grateful to be here with you. I'd like to remind you, please don't forget, Inspirational Thoughts, it is a program that is designed to inspire and motivate us to be better and to do better. I don't know about you, but I believe we can do better and we can be better. And in order to do better and be better, remember three things, and I'll keep ringing them in our ears. You ought to, it requires effort, it requires association with the right people. It requires feeding on the right things on a daily basis. This morning, we are going to look at a topic. Are there times to keep quiet? Are there times to keep quiet? Before we delve into this, of course, I would like to share the quote of the day this morning. And this quote was quoted by Abraham Lincoln, and it is said, "It is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. It is better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid." I want to quote this again. Abraham Lincoln said, "It is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and to remove all doubt. It is better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid." This morning, as we investigate the topic, are there times to keep quiet? I would like to take your attention, rather our attention, to the book of James. The chapter is 1 and verse number 19. I believe this verse is a verse that is familiar to all. And before we read this, I do want to apologize for the extremely late start this morning. I was having immense challenges with my camera this morning. So if you ever thought about giving me a gift, this would be a perfect gift to get, a camera that I could use on my computer, right? The book of James, chapter 1 and verse number 19, the scripture tells us, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath." Let us read this again. "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath." Now, this verse, as simple as it may be, it is packed with information. There, James encourages the brethren, and this encouragement is not only for brethren, it could be applied by everyone. It says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren," he says, "let every man be swift to hear," which suggests that we ought to give a lot of attention to hearing. We need to give a lot of attention to listening. We need to place a lot of emphasis on receiving information. One man said, "It is not by accident God blessed us with 2 ears and 1 mouth. They said we are blessed with 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen more and speak less. Now, the scripture continues by saying, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. I want for us to observe here this morning that James is not saying that we should not speak. He's not saying that. He's also not saying that we should not get angry. The scripture tells us, be ye angry and sin not. It is possible for us to become angry and not sin. But our focus this morning is on the idea of speaking. It said, let every man be swift to hear and slow to speak. James is not condemning speaking over hearing. He is simply encouraging us to speak less and listen more. So this morning we are questioning, are there times to keep quiet? Are there times you need to keep your mouth shut? I personally believe that there are times that we need to speak, and there are times that we need to keep our mouth shut. This morning I want to a few share a few pointers or times when we need to keep our mouth shut or when we need to keep quiet. Number one, we need to keep quiet when we are angry. We need to keep quiet when we are angry. Now this is important. Now, the question is, why should we keep quiet when we are angry? Now, when one is angry, and I want for you to take the opportunity to reflect, go back at a point in time when you was filled with anger. What happened? How did you behave? Now, when one is angry, the emotions are often we are unable to control our emotion. When we are angry, we say things that we do not mean at times. When we are angry, we say things that may hurt, that may leave a negative impact. When we are angry and we speak, we may simply be adding fuel to the fire as opposed to solving the problem at hand. So, when should we keep quiet? We should keep quiet when we are angry. Number two, when we are trying to defend ourselves. When we are trying to defend ourselves, it is common to respond to someone confronting us by throwing a good counter attack. Many of us are good at that, right? We're good at that. Someone is saying something to us, and we are quick to counter. We are quick to respond. Coaches and counselors like to call this defensiveness. It feels good at first, yet there are times when being quiet and listening is the better part of wisdom. Perhaps the messenger is sharing a truth that stings, or maybe even an inaccurate picture of you. No, we ought to pause and consider that deeply, because what I've just said is important. There are times someone may be saying something to us, and that something may be it may be truth, or it may be a lie. It may be something that may encourage us, or it may be something that may discourage us. However, listening puts us in a better position to dissect what is being said. It puts us in a better position to dissect what is being said. We are now able to analyze all of the information and digest it. So if it is something that is positive or truth, sometimes it is said that there are times when the truth hurts. Sometimes truth can be said to us that will hurt our feelings, and we may want to counteract. We may want to defend ourselves and let our voices be heard. But it is important at this moment of time to take a little time to just listen. If it is positive, you accept it. If it is negative, you reject it. Number three, when someone is showing aggression, have you ever experienced someone that is very, very aggressive? At this moment, I believe it would be wise to simple listen. Why? I believe at that point in time, it is important to just keep your mouth shut. Close your trap. Don't say anything at all. Simply listen. Because when one is aggressive towards you and you respond, based on the response that you may give, it may cause further aggression. It may cause that person, if they are at stage 5, it may cause them to get at stage 10. Let me ask a question. Have you ever been in an argument with someone that you love, probably a friend? It's heated. It's heated. This sometimes happens between husbands and wives, where one party is behaving a little aggressively and expressing themselves, and the other simply starts to speak out. And what that does, that encourages and that creates a deeper sense of anger, and it causes the aggression to amplify. So, are there times to keep quiet? Yes, there are times to keep quiet. We learn number one, when you are angry, when you are trying to defend yourself, when someone is showing aggression. Number four, when you feel hurt. Can you remember a time when you felt hurt by another person's comment? Perhaps the comment came from a good friend, boss, spouse, a child. They may have said it as a playful teasing, or thinking they were being helpful, but the way you heard it resulted in the same feeling I had when I was recently stung by a bee, right? These things do happen, right? The initiate response is to hurt them right back. You have likely heard that phrase, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people when you feel hurt. We need to do the opposite when we feel a um, natural desire to give that response. Now, there are a few things I need to say on this, right? I know we're familiar with this. You hurt me, I hurt you back. You make me feel a way, I'm going to make you feel that same way. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Have you ever been in such a situation? Have you ever been in such a situation? To me, I believe in moments like these, we need to remain silent. Not because someone hurt you, you are to hurt them back. Someone said something offensive to you. Instead of responding, simply remain quiet. Keep your mouth shut. You do not have to, you have to stoop to that individual's level. You're not to stoop to that individual level. And when you keep your mouth shut, you are simply saying that I am on a different level and I'm not willing to get down to your level. Folks, there are times we need to keep our mouth shut. Now, number five, when you are about to lie or exaggerate. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and they're telling you something, and then you have that urge to make up a story, tell them something good too, Well, it is at this moment you need to keep your mouth shut. Instead of saying something that is untruth or exaggerate on something, whenever you feel that urge, it is better to remain silent. Number six, when others are not interested in listening. One of the things I believe, or abilities that we all need to cultivate, is the ability to observe and notice when someone is no longer interested in the dialogue or the conversation that you're having. And from the moment you observe that, it is time for you to keep your mouth shut. Close it, zip it, zip it, because continuing further will not make will not be worth it. You will simply be speaking to air, right? So when others are not interested in listening, they're no longer interested in listening, then it is time to keep your mouth shut. Number seven, when you don't have enough situational knowledge. So you are having a dialogue, you are discussing a topic with a group, right? And a particular point comes up. You do not have sufficient knowledge to discuss this subject and to make a meaningful contribution. Whenever situations like that comes up, it is better to keep quiet and listen. Now, this can be applied in all forums, whether you are at work in a meeting, whether you're having a simple conversation with someone, whether you are at church within a Bible study. If you do not have enough information, it is better to remain silent. I have experienced situations where, in the midst of a Bible study, a brother would come up with his perspective and understanding of the subject that we're dealing with. No, there is no problem in sharing your thoughts. But then I realized that this brother did not study. He seemed, his knowledge is limited, yet he wants to make a contribution, right? It is at these moments that you keep your mouth shut. And in keeping your mouth shut, you need to open your ears. Open your ears so that you can take in the information that is being said. And when the opportunity avails itself, you research the subject. And in researching, then you'll be better able to make a meaningful contribution. Are there times to keep your mouth shut? Yes, there are times and moments when you need to be silent. And I've shared 7 things with you this morning that I hope you'll take into consideration. And I want to repeat them quickly. And I would also like to inform you that these 7 points are not mine. They're not mine. I use the points, but I share my thoughts to expound on the points. Right? Point number 1. When should we keep our mouth shut? We should keep our mouth shut when we are angry. We should keep our mouth closed when we are angry. We should keep our mouth closed when we are trying to defend ourselves. We should keep our mouth shut when someone is showing aggression. We need to keep quiet when we feel hurt, because at that time our emotions are high. And if we speak, we may say things that may cause further injury. We may say things that will not help the situation. We may say things that will cause further hurt. So, are you in a relationship with someone? And there are times things are said that really cuts to your heart, and you really feel like exploding or expressing yourself. No, now is not the time to express yourself. It is better to remain silent. One of the things that I have practiced over the years is that when my emotions are high, when I'm angry, when I feel hurt, instead of responding, or rather reacting, I step out of the house. I step out of the situation. And usually, I'm back home. I live close to the beach, so I'll just take a walk down by the bayside and just sit and relax, gather my thoughts, and then return. Because when situations are high, and there is hurt in the air, when there is hurt in the air, it can cause one to not respond but to react. And when we react, we are adding salt to the wound. So when should we keep silent? When we feel hurt. Number five, when you are about to lie or exaggerate. We all know, those of us who are kingdom disciples, and I believe the world at large should know this. We know that lying is wrong. We know that lying is wrong. But there are times when we may feel, and that desire may come up upon us to say something that is untrue. There are many reasons why we lie. There are multiple reasons why we lie. But we don't have to. And whenever that moment comes and we feel like saying something that is inaccurate, something that is not true, we need to pause, rethink what we are going to say. That is why I believe it is important to keep our mouth shut. And when you do, that lie will not come through your mouth. Number six, when others are not interested in listening. I don't know about you, but I've experienced that. Having a dialogue with someone, and it is evident by their demeanor, by their non-verbal actions, that they're no longer interested in the conversation and what I'm saying. And out of love and respect for myself, I need to take myself out of the equation by keeping my mouth shut, because no one else is interested in listening to what I have to say. I use this as well whenever I preach. Whenever I preach, and preachers need to observe that as well. Sometimes it makes no sense to preach a sermon for an hour and a half or for an hour. It is said that the typical attention span of a human being is about 20 minutes, right? And after that, people zone out. You're on the pulpit preaching for 40, 50 minutes, an hour plus, and the people, they are getting agitated because they have been sitting for a while. They're starting to sleep. They're drowsy, right? They're looking all over the place. Folks, it is at that time, that you wind down. You start coming to a conclusion, because you may continue to speak, but at the end of the day, the brethren, the congregants may not understand or listen to what you're saying, because they're distracted. So to me, it is better to preach 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and at the end of the day, the brethren, they get the message, or you preach for an hour and a half, and the people don't get the message at all. They leave with nothing. So I've learned to do that. But that is not, in some circumstances, the brethren are in tune, they're there, and they're listening, and you can continue. It's a matter of observing the audience, observing the individuals that you're communicating with. And if the interest is no longer there, then you quit. Because I once preached a sermon for about an hour and 10 or so minutes. And when I realized that I have been on the pulpit for so long, I started to wind down. I cut the message short because I still had a lot more to say. I cut the message short and I stepped down, and I sat down. After the message, a sister came to me and she said, "Brother Dexter, why did you cut the message short?" I said to her, "Sis, I have been up there for an hour plus. That is a long time." She said, "Brother, I was loving and enjoying the message. So there are times when you can go for an extended period of time, the people are there. And there are times You can't go for so long because the people are zoned out. And you're supposed to be able to analyze that and know when to keep quiet or when to conclude. So are there times to keep quiet? Yes, when others are not interested in listening. And the final point I shared with you this morning, when you don't have enough situational knowledge, when you don't have enough knowledge to speak on a particular topic, it is better to simply sit and listen, gather information that you can use in future references, right? I stopped by this morning to simply encourage us that there are times we need to keep our mouth shut. And now we could go into this a lot deeper, a lot deeper. For example, for example, we need to keep our mouth shut when it comes to our personal business, when it comes to certain plans that we have. Because sometimes we speak too fast. We speak too fast. We want to tell everybody of our future plans. But this is not a wise thing to do. Because sometimes you tell people your plans, and guess what they do? They sabotage you. They try to get there before you. You tell someone about how do and the thought just left me, but I come back to this, right? You have some big plans, and you tell your friends, you tell all your family members, and before you know it, that opportunity that you had is gone because someone else got there before you, because you told them. I've known people who have had great business ideas, and they shared that with others. But the problem is, it's a good idea, something that they're pressing towards. However, the financial capability was not there to initiate it as soon as possible. However, that shared information, someone else who that information was shared with, had the finance, and they were able to finance that business and get that business going before the individual who told them. That's one of the reasons why you should not tell people your business. I've known individuals who have brought business plans to various institutions, and the institutions take that plan and do it themselves. So, folks, I believe that there are times we need to keep our mouth shut. What about you? There are times that we ought to speak, and there are times we ought to remain silent. As I close, I leave you with a thought, a quote for the day. It is better to remain silent and to be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubts. It is better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid. And our text for today, James, the chapter is 1 and verse number 19, where the Bible says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath." James is not encouraging and saying that we should not speak. However, we need to think before we speak, because every situation does not require our input. It was indeed a pleasure being with you this morning on Inspirational Thoughts. I look forward to tomorrow to share another encouragement with you to keep you going for the rest of the week. Don't forget, there are times to speak and there are times to remain silent. And before I go, I would like to just alert you. This coming Friday, we are going to have a guest in the house. Brother Andy Charles will be with us this coming Friday, and I will post it on all my social media platforms to remind you. This is a program that you definitely do not want to miss. You do not want to miss this program, and we are going to discuss a topic that is of great importance, a very important topic, I believe, that we all need to consider, and that is resilience in the face of challenges. Resilience in the face of challenges. This will be our topic for this coming Friday, 8:15. Don't be late. I hope and pray that my system will not give me any trouble. So tune in this Friday. Tell a friend, tell a family member that this Friday we're going to have Brother Andy Charles coming in, and he's going to discuss resilience in the face of challenges. Do have a blessed day and continue to live and live for God. Continue to trust His word. Continue to keep focus on your goals, and don't allow anything or anyone to deter you today. Continue doing what you do, and I pray that at the end, Yahweh will receive all the glory and indeed all of the praise. Until tomorrow, ayo, tata.
Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave